In this screen flow, I'd like to talk a little bit about using SQL in SQLDF and the apply commands in R. If you know databases in SQL from other courses, part of this will be review, but the really focuses on how to do things in R. And so more of the how to use the apply functions in R will be more of a focus. So if you're not an expert at SQL at the end of this, don't worry about it. We won't be focusing on that as we kind of go forward in the class. But in order to get started, let me first install the packages. Just need SQLDF. And it gives me kind of this warning because I've already loaded it in. And then SQLDF. Okay, now we've got everything loaded. So let's start with a simple command. And we'll work on empty cars. So now we write SQL code inside the SQLDF command. So we can see, and I can kind of store this in the resulting variable just so you can get a better feel for it. Okay, so we've run a SQL command, which basically is selecting the MPG column from the empty cars data set and storing in results. And the structure of the results is a data frame with really just one observation, one variable called MPG. So we can do a mean of results $MPG, and that's going to be the same as empty cars $MPG. Look at that. Can we do this? Will that work? Let's take a look if this code will work. Doesn't, because there's too many equals. So how can we fix that? How about that? Will this work? So again, it's a data frame with just that one MPG. So this time it actually does appear to have worked. So we have all the MPGs for 4-cylinder cars. So this is valid SQL code here with invalid R code. We can do additional operations. For example, rather than just select the actual variable, we can do something like count. So there was 11, and we know that from before, right? So there's 11. We can do other operations. So what we just did is we generated the average MPG in the empty cars data set where the number of cylinders equals 4. Now when we want to do this in R, we typically wouldn't use these SQL commands. We would use an apply command. And we're going to focus on tapply. So tapply typically takes 3 parameters. The first one is the summary variable we want to do. So if we try to create something similar, it would be the empty cars $MPG. That's the summary variable we want to do. And then we want to group. How do we want to group the analysis? And we grouped it before by cylinders. So we do empty cars $cylinder. And then we provide a function. In this case, we just want the mean. So this is very similar to what we did in the SQL command right here. And it shows all the cylinders. In fact, if we didn't do the 4, but if we just did all of them, we would actually get even closer to being similar types of results. That's the average for all of them. So we have to do maybe by cylinder. No. Oh. How about if we did a group by, not just by? There we go. Took me a couple seconds. So here we're showing the 3 different cylinder choices, right? Then 26, 19, which is the same thing here. So again, tapply can be used like you would in SQL command, but this is a little bit more intuitive from somebody who kind of uses and works with R on an ongoing basis. So let's see, where should we go for next? Let's try to do some more tapply. Same MPG. Will that work? Will tapply kind of understand we only want to do the 4 cylinders, or is that an error? It does work. It basically treats this as a logical condition. And so we're grouping it by cylinder, but by cylinder equals 4 is that grouping. And so if we're the ones that are true and false, basically we're getting the 2 different conditions. So the true is the ones with cylinder equals 4. Then the others is really an average of the 6 and 8 cylinder cars. And if I get the syntax right, we could probably try to recreate something similar in SQL. So we would do select average, empty cars.mpg from empty cars, where cell equals 4. So again, while this would be traditional database, how you would achieve it, in R we would typically use the tapply command. It's a little bit more general and a little bit more focused on kind of working in rows and columns like we've been working on. Now sometimes rather than just having it output to the console, we might want to store the results. So let's take a look at what the results might be if we store the results. So again, the way we understand this is we can take a look. This is something you haven't seen before. It's a list. So when we want to take a look at results, we use 2 brackets on a list. So that's the equivalent of what we got up here. Okay, so tapply returns a list as opposed to a vector or a data frame. We'll talk about lists a little bit further. But you can think of it being something similar to a vector. And we'll kind of use them a little bit further on in the class, but mainly we'll be using vectors and data frames. But sometimes you have to deal with lists, and when you do, there's lots of different ways to work with lists. So you can unlist lists, for example, so we can store that into new results. And what's the structure of new results? It's just a simpler list. Maybe I want to see that. New results. 2. So that's a little bit of how to work with lists. Let's do some more SQL. Let's say we want to do SQL df. No, let's move on from SQL. Let's go up here and let's write a little function. Let's say we wanted to to understand and look for just all the good cars from an MPG perspective. So let's write a function. Good MPG car. And of course, I'm just making this up. I don't know, 24. So if the MPG for the car is above 24, we're going to say it's a good car. Otherwise, we're just going to return it's not a good car. Very simple function. Now we've defined it. And to see how we can test out that function, MPG. Right, because it's only expecting a single number. So false or true. I don't know which one's true. A lot of them are false. There we go. Let's look at empty cars. The 8th one. It had good MPG. Let's take a look at the 7th one, which had a bad MPG. So we kind of just tested our function, and it indeed is working as we expect. Now what can we do with this? Well, we can use a different apply command. This time we're going to use the sapply. And that takes, to start, 2 parameters. Pass it empty, pass it a vector. So passing the MPG vector. And we pass it a function to kind of do the operation on. Good MPG cars. Got a typo. There we go. So you can see it's basically iterating through what we were just doing up here. So I was doing it one by one, and we were getting results. If I do the sapply, it's kind of doing the loop for me, and it gets the results back. False, 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 true, right? We did these by hand, and it did all of them throughout. Now we can take this, and we could do different operations on the apply. So we can add them up. So we can say basically how many cars are good cars by our definition. In this case, it's 7. We could also, what else could we do? How about if we stored the results? So now we're just storing Booleans, right? But we get past that into empty cars. Just all the ones that are good. And good cars. Really have a bunch of typos today. So here we can see these are all the cars that fit the characteristic or quality of an MPG being above 24. And we've used a different type of looping function called the sapply function to actually go through and generate this. So we can use the tapply function and also pass in our own function. So let's write a different function up here. And that we do mean plus standard deviation. So it's going to be a simple little function on a vector. And it really will be something pretty simple, mean of v plus standard deviation of v. And we'll just return what we generated. Let's run this code. An error here? Yes, we have an error. What's the error? Well, it would be good if I said it was a function. Now let's try it. be good if I said, what else? I kind of actually had the correct syntax here. How about that? Is this going to work? Yes, that one actually, I got rid of all my typos. So now let's use the tapply function, but use the function I created. If you remember, tapply takes the 3 parameters. So empty cars, $mpg, for example, empty cars, $cylinder. Now we pass in our function, mean plus SD. And that's the output we have. So you can see that it just used our new function. So this is how we can kind of combine functions with the apply function, both the tapply and before we use the sapply way back up here. All right, I think we'll stop here for now.